If you're a personal finance type of person, which refers to the whole budget and personal income thing, as opposed to the stock market, options trading, earnings reports, etc. sort of thing, chances are you've seen those Dave Ramsey, Caleb Hammer, and Roman Fior type of videos, the ones where they go over the personal finances of your average citizen. Usually the people on that show have made enormous financial mistakes. They're a good learning lesson of what not to do. However, all three of these people are in the United States, which is not where I'm from. I know you can call into Dave Ramsey's show, but the Aussie time zone versus American time zone doesn't work out, especially since I have multiple jobs. I do not have time to call into the show anyway, and to be honest, I don't care to be on his show either. However, I'd love to be on Roman Fior's show. He's so underrated, but the general public loves their drama and harsh words, hence why the other two get more views, but that's besides the point. So what I've decided to do as a 29th birthday special, even though this video will come out after my birthday, is to audit my financial situation myself, so I don't have to go on these shows. Now, a common formula that the videos I watch from Roman is that we start with our income, then we go into our assets, then we go into our liabilities, and then we delve into our expenses, I think. I don't know, but the method in which I'm going to go about this is I will first start with my income, then assets, the good stuff first, then I'll go over my liabilities, and then rough expenses. So, my income. I have many sources of income. However, I'll only go over 5, which are my main job, my part-time job, my short/medium-term swing trading, my YouTube channel income, and a 5th income stream later that I can implement next week, but I'm giving it more time, which, that'll make sense once I get to it, right? Income source 1, my main job, which is my office job in accounting. My base rate is $80,000 per year, and here in Australia, if you're employed, you also get a 12% boost into your retirement fund. I'd rather have this retirement money myself rather than go into a retirement fund, but I'll talk more on why that's the case another time. So there's an extra $9,600 per year. My job also provides some benefits such as paying for my CPA membership and my Power BI membership, which is about $866 a year for the CPA one and $277 for the Power BI, I think. The CPA fee is outrageous, but hey, I'm not the one paying for it. So all in all, that's about $90,697 per year for my main job. I'll go over my weekly income/budget later. Income source 2, my part-time supermarket job. The base rate is $26.97 per hour, but any hours I do are either at a 25% penalty rate or a 50% penalty rate. So I either earn $33.71 per hour or $40.45 per hour, not including retirement fund benefits. I work basically 28.5 hours per week. It's not guaranteed I'll work this much, but I could guarantee it. I'm just unsure at this stage if I really want to permanently work this much, but currently that's what my schedule is like. Now, this means I receive $51,530.70 annually. When you include my retirement fund benefits and a rough guideline of what I'll get from staff discounts, that's roughly $58,864.38 per year from my part-time job. Income source 3, swing trading stocks. Now, unlike my other two sources previously mentioned, I have no idea what I earn from this. I kind of just chuck money in whenever I can afford it. My 5th income source gobbles up a huge chunk of my income, which will make sense soon, but I need to be careful with how much I invest, since that money is obviously then unavailable to use for that income source. But as you can see at the time of this screenshot, I've made more than $5,000 this year from investing/swing trading. Not bad considering I've put money that I can afford to lose into this portfolio. You can also see the calendar thing at the bottom showing how much money I made or lost in each of those days, but I don't know how my stock picks will perform. I don't know when I'll invest any more money, and I don't know when I'll sell out of certain stocks. But this is an option if need be. If somehow something happened with my employment income, I'd have this as a backup. Income source 4, for the sake of this video, my YouTube channel. Now this generates next to nothing, but whenever I do manage to earn more than $100 in ad revenue from my channel, I'll get paid out something. It's absolutely not something that can be relied on, but it's a start, and it's something. As you can see, it's barely making $20 a month. Lastly, income source 5, rent, currently $0, but I could get something from this whenever I want. I am just not looking currently since whoever I allow to be in my house will be there for a while, and I'd prefer to pick the correct tenant, even if it costs me some money for having a vacant room for longer. So that's what I was referring to earlier when I said my 5th income stream gobbles up a lot of my income. Obviously, having a house is very costly to your finances. The more of my money that goes into my house, the less I have for stock investments. So that's my income. I'll only count income streams 1, 2, and 5. You can see the rough calculations here. The total annually for rent includes some tax benefits you get for having part of your house used as an investment. So my total income can be anywhere between $130,000 and $200,000, depending on how you look at it, do you include my projected rent and tax benefits? Do you include retirement fund benefits? Or do you only include the gross amount for my employment jobs? But week per week, I have somewhere around $2,000 flowing into my bank account. I technically should be getting less as I pay less in tax per payslip from both jobs than I should, but that's some tax strategy outside the scope of this video. It means I owe more to the tax office when I do my tax return, but that's fine since I can park that extra money in high interest savings accounts or a mortgage offset account in the meantime. So that's income. Now for my assets. My first asset, cash, sitting at a balance of $21,036.21. Got a decent buffer as that gives me peace of mind if I run into troubles with my house. And on top of that, I have a lot more expenses to fork out relating to my house anyway, so I need cash on standby. Kind of everything in the stock market. Speaking of, asset 2, stonks, $30,361.71. I pumped a bit more money into stocks lately, and my portfolio has also had a nice rally thanks to AI-related stocks, including chip companies increasing rapidly, as well as mining stocks. I'm quite heavily exposed to those sectors, which has been good lately, but it's risky. However, it seems to be an okay move for the foreseeable future. Side note, this was before that recent crash we had. So if you updated my figures, this amount is quite a bit lower. But I have to make this video at some point, otherwise I'll be constantly updating this video and it'll never get released. Asset 3, crypto, $2,512.64. I have a bit of Bitcoin, and that's all. I used to have more, but I sold out years ago and I just never bought back in. Asset 4, my sports betting account, $56.11. This was at 1 cent for a while since my betting platform allows you to watch NBA games only if you have money in your account, but recently they offered a bonus bet for deposits. So I put money in, bet on table tennis favorites, won 3 out of 4 of those bets, so now I have some extra cash sitting in the account. Asset 5, my retirement fund, $78,352.63. Since my retirement fund is heavily invested into the S&P 500, as well as some other global markets, and it also contains a bit in the local Australian stock exchange. It's gone up as the market has gone up. Asset 6, real estate, $710,000. It was valued at roughly $715,000 last month, but as per any market, there's fluctuations. However, with the recent Aussie government 5% deposit scheme, this is only going to inflate housing prices further, so no doubt this value will increase in the coming months. Asset 7, furniture, $7,470, no changes from last time. Asset 8, my business/YouTube channel, $540. I've just assigned a value to my channel, the same way any business has value. If you take my annual channel revenue times 3 to 5, the amount becomes understandable. Asset 9, miscellaneous items that I own, $11,720. I went into a breakdown in a prior video, but this amount includes basically anything that I own that I could resell, such as NBA jerseys, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, gaming consoles, etc. Asset 10, my vehicle/my car, $8,500. I have a Toyota Camry, which hold their value really well. Totaling up all these assets equal $870,549.30. Pretty high, but with great assets comes great liabilities. So we'll talk about those icky liabilities. Oh my god, ick! It gives me the ick. Liability 1, credit card, $1,910.74. I only have this card to delay payments so that my money sits in my offset account for longer, meaning I pay less interest on my mortgage. Liability 2, car loan, $0, pay my car outright. Liability 3, student debt, $37,567.46. For the first time in months, it's come down. Why is this the case? Because I recently got my tax return done, and that's when we Australians have to make our minimum repayments on our student debts. So I now have a tax debt, but a good chunk of that is my student debt. So my student debt balance has now decreased. Liability 4, tax debt, $8,153.40. This is what I owe the tax office, since I have now done my tax return. Not bad. I was expecting to pay mid-8,000s to the 9,000s-ish figure, so my tax accountant and I got a good result. Liability 5, mortgage, $407,721.20. As I pay the mortgage each month, the balance will slightly decrease, and it's not a bad mortgage compared to a lot of other balances in Australia. Liability 6, business loan, $0. I have no business loan. So my total liabilities equal $455,352.80. When you count up my assets, take away my liabilities, that leaves a net worth of $415,196.50. Not bad at all, but I certainly don't feel this rich, and a decent amount of my assets are made up of stuff that doesn't really help my day-to-day cash flow. Example, my retirement fund can't be touched for decades. whether my house is worth $710,000 or $800,000 or $600,000 doesn't really mean too much unless I look at equity, which I'm not going to look at for ages, if ever. This is still something I live in. My furniture obviously won't be sold off, or I'd have no couch to sit on, no TVs to watch, no beds to sleep on, etc. And my items could always sell for a lot less than what they're valued at. But it's still a solid balance sheet to have as a newly 29-year-old. Lastly, my rough expenses. These will depend obviously, but in a standard month, I can expect to pay the following. Mortgage, $2,305, internet bill, $113, energy, $60, fuel, $340, groceries, $250, social events, $100, private health insurance, $108. And then there's some other annual expenses like home insurance, $1,172, car registration, $784, which works out to be a monthly figure of around $98 for home insurance and $65 a month for car rego. If we include all of these costs, we have a monthly expense of around $3,439 a month. Keep in mind that this can be higher if you consider other costs that could pop up, like mechanic fees, but it could also be less if my fuel and grocery costs are lower, and my social event costs are lower. Now, some common expenses that I don't have included here are gym membership, haircuts, and a phone bill. I pay for a gym membership annually. I got a really good deal on some gym for only $128 a year, but that won't exist next year, so maybe next year I'll have a recurring monthly gym payment. I cut my own hair, but I think I'll get one soon for looks maxing purposes, I'll get a proper hairdresser. And my phone bill was some cheap annual SIM, so no recurring monthly costs, but it was only like a couple $100 tops for the year. I barely noticed it. So if I'm spending/losing $3,439 a month, but I'm having about $8,985 per month flowing into my bank, that theoretically leaves me with a surplus of $5,546 a month. Sounds like a lot of extra money, but I've had that many unexpected costs come up lately. I didn't pay for any fencing, landscaping, driveway, backyard, sidewalks, etc. for my house, so I need to pay for the materials for those when I get around to fixing those up, which are obviously very costly. Look at this for example. Ever since I moved in, I've spent an additional $6,419.48 on my house, not including mortgages, bills, etc. And we're not done yet. I've saved money in the long run by doing it myself with the help of my family, rather than paying the home builder to do it, which involves a high markup for labor costs, as well as having to borrow that money from the bank and paying interest on that. But damn, it's a pain in the ass in the short term, not only because of the cost, but the time spent on manual labor too. I've missed out on a lot of free time lately, and if you know me, I have barely any free time as it is. So although it seems like I have a huge cash surplus each month, that's not the case, because who knows how much extra I need to fork out on my house before it's done. And that's a basic overview of my financial position at the age of 29. The income and expenses really depend, but I'm in a comfortable enough position. There are some good assets I own, but also quite a bit of debt too. But all in all, it's a decent spot to be in as a 29-year-old. No outrageous credit card amounts, no uninformed plans to leave the country with no finances, a decent/solid income amount, and pretty stable income sources at that. For these reasons, even if I wanted to go onto those personal finance shows, I don't think I'd be accepted because there's not much drama here and there's not that much to pick apart. So what is your financial position and what age are you? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. That is all.